vamos pensar um outro jeito.
Baía Formosa, an amazing place in the northeast part of Brazil. My idea was to try to capture the annular solar eclipse in 2023. But let's do it by steps. The annular solar eclipse was going to be seen in some part of United States, Central America, and also in the northeast part of Brazil, between the cities of Natal and João Pessoa. My base point was Baía Formosa. This city was almost at the center of the eclipse, so I start to browse some places nearby, in the dunes, in the sand. So for that, I have used the Photopills app. It helped me a lot in order to identify the timing, the angles, the sun size, what distance I should be from my subject, what size the sun would be in the photo, and also try to express my initial idea of this composition that I have. I'm not going into details of Photopills, but besides Photopills, I have also used Google Earth in order to predict how would be the shadows. Also, the Google Earth has a very good, it can measure some distance, and also you can see where the sun will set. It was a very hard-working planning process. I have started to sketch some of the ideas for my compositions, like for example, which camera body would I use, which lens I would use, but I had some distance limitations. So I went and started looking for different compositions, but the photo that I had in mind was Leticia, my wife, holding a violin in the sand dune. Did it work? Well, in this video, we will know this. In the first day, I went to the main places that I had planned in order to see if the composition would actually work in the real place. Okay, stop here in this point, because this is the place that I had planned to put Leticia with the violin, and the sun would set exactly at that point. However, as you can see, there was some vegetation above the dunes, and that would possibly interfere with the composition. So what I did was to go through my PhotoPills app and use the augmented reality in order to see the exact position and timing of the sun during the eclipse. I would have to stay lower than I was in order to get the sun at the right position. I would have to be in the sand in order to get the 6-7 degrees angle. However, the high tide was about 2 meters high, and there was no space in the sand. So that would complicate things a little. The first issue was the high tide. It could go up to 2 meters high. And the second is the heat. It's so hot. It makes your blood pressure very low and you feel dizzy sometimes. It's very, very uncomfortable. And the last issue is the wind. The wind does not stop. And you have to have an extra care for your equipment like lenses and tripod. We rented a buggy in order to go to the place where Leticia would make part of the composition with her violin. And then we went with the buggy until Sagi Beach. On Sagi Beach, there were some dunes that was part of my planning as well. And so I was looking at my right side with the PhotoPills app in order to see possible compositions, but nothing really seemed to fit. Or was the distance, or there wasn't enough space due to the high tide. At certain points, it looked like it was going to work, but when we arrived at the place, there wasn't enough space. At afternoon, I had a terrible headache and also a low blood pressure due to the heat. I decided to do some tests with the Solar Filter Eclipse and also with the rented lens RF 100-500mm. My idea was to get familiar with the lens in order to get some agility for the eclipse time. So I would check stabilization and also how would the focus behave when putting the solar filter. I wanted to get as prepared as possible in order to avoid any surprises during the eclipse shoot. What a burning hot climate, ladies and gentlemen. And last case scenario, if any of the places that I planned didn't work, I would shoot the eclipse from the hotel. My options were getting shorter, so I have tried in the first place that I went a more side angle, but
vamos pensar um outro jeito.
the sunrise here is very early, like 4:30 in the morning. There was already some light. And I enjoyed this morning to do some photos on the beach. I went back to the first place again in order to try something different in order to get a good composition for the eclipse. Problem was that at 4:46 p.m., which was the Ring of Fire time, I would have to have a 100mm lens and below in order to include both the foreground and the sky. But the composition wasn't really attracting me. I was also opened to different photographic opportunities, and I saw this boat and a little river that looked like those rivers in Iceland. It was a very, very interesting pattern. I was too obsessed with the eclipse photo, so I decided to relax a little bit in the swimming pool. The people from the hotel wanted to help, and one of the employees from the hotel told me that there was a room upstairs. It was a kind of maintenance room that I could use for shooting sunset and also possibly the eclipse. And because it is higher, my composition could possibly change. And also to avoid the crowds. This could be a backup plan. So it was the technical difficulties here were really hard. It's very difficult to find a position in the sand. I would have to stay in the ocean to get this photo done. There's no islands here either, so that makes the technical side of this photo really challenging here in this coast. It's really difficult because it's really hot. The temperature here is suffocating. I can't stand to get in the sun for more than a few minutes, and you start to feeling very the blood pressure goes down, and it's really difficult to get. The conditions are very hard, but I struggled to get. I went into the coastline for about 12 kilometers. I went up to almost the Saga beach, way past Saga beach, but I couldn't find any place where I get a silhouette from Leticia. At least I would have to stay 200 meters from the focal point, from Leticia in the case. I would. My idea was to get her in silhouette, but the sun would have to be like 2 meters. So in order for the sun, for the diameter to be 2 meters, I would have to stay away from Leticia at least 200 meters, and that was not possible. The best thing I could achieve here was 80 meters, 100 meters. I would be in the water, because exactly at this time of the eclipse, there's a high tide, so it's really difficult. Don't give up. I enjoyed another sunrise in order to do some photos. This hour was really good because it was windy and it wasn't so hot. I decided to include Leticia in some of my photos. In a last attempt in order to get the photo, I found out a place on my planning that was a little bit further down than Saji Beach. In that place there was this wind turbines, and at some point there was a distance, even at high tide, that could work with the composition and also the angle. We have arrived at Guaju River, This river marks the state division between Rio Grande do Norte and Paraíba. So our idea was to get this boat, cross the river, and go to the dunes across the wind turbines. The blue point on the map is me and Leticia walking through the sand. We arrived at the planned location. However, some problems started to arise. The first one is that there was a difference between the calculated area and when we arrived at the place. We would lose the eclipse at the Ring of Fire time because the sun would be behind that hill. And the other problem was that there was so many cactus and the floor was very irregular to walk on. Well, it didn't work. So we went back to the buggy, to the river, and on the way back we would try to see if there was any other place where we could get up higher than where we were. We made our way through the dunes. There was yet hope, because I saw this tower here, which could get me up higher, and also there was a valley in the dunes. If I could get that much higher, and the valley with the sand dunes were lower, I could get a good composition. This person here is amazing. And it didn't work again. I thought from my point of view that that place was lower than what it actually was. And that is my pissed off face for not getting an eclipse photo. Seriously? When we went back to the buggy area, it was happening a wedding party in the middle of the sand. It was in this moment, when all hope had faded, that Ale Rodrigues had seen this tower. It was a zipline tower, and why not climb up there? I may not have taken the photo that I had planned, but whenever I look at these photos, I will remember how important it is to be connected with the present moment and live every second of our journey intensely. And here is my thanks to Leticia, my wife, for embarking on this crazy journey with me. Leticia is a judicial expert, graphologist and therapist, and has a special job. Take a look at her YouTube channel. Plan the location and logistics well. Study the geography and access. If you have never been to the location, go at least 1 week before the eclipse to work with compositions. A good focal length is to use at least 500mm on an APS-C camera or 800mm on a full-frame camera. to get a good size of the moon and the sun. I practically didn't use the solar filter during the eclipse, but it's good to have for planning the eclipse, for looking at compositions while having the camera pointed at the sun, and for looking at the eclipse. Also, don't forget the influence of the tides. If you're going to have enough sand space, so it's important to pay attention to that too. Be flexible with compositions and have plans A, B, C, D, E, F, and try to think outside the box. And most importantly, have fun and live in the moment before anything else.